Good day, this is Ray. Today is Saturday, December 30th, 2023 for me. Another day of learning and growing. Hope that you, your family, friends, and loved ones are doing well and staying safe. So this is my year-end update and also a recap of the past few years when it comes to my debt payoff journey. And I want to go ahead and talk about a few things today. Hopefully this video won't be too long. I might add some extra music underneath so that it's not too boring, because I don't want to hear my voice this long, just talking. But definitely want to give a bigger picture as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, and also let you know what my progress has been over the past few years. So why did I decide to pay off my consumer debt? What caused me to say enough is enough and to tackle it? Well, for one thing, May of 2019 was when my health took a turn. If you know what's my previous videos, I was diagnosed with lupus in May of 2019. I was in a hospital for a total stay of about 22 days with a break of a few days where I went back home but had to go back. I was 50 pounds lighter than I normally am. I could barely walk, was in a lot of pain. And I stepped down from my role in management, moved back home with my parents. And to be honest, I didn't think I was going to make it. I was hospitalized 6 times within a less than a 2-year period. And I decided, okay, if I'm going to tackle my health, which I was scared of the whole thing, dealing with doctors, nurses, getting blood drawn all the time, going to the doctor every quarter, getting infusions, all that scare, barely being able to lay in bed. I had to sit up because I was drowning in my spit. Dealing with a lot, and then of course the pandemic happened in March of 2020, and I just said, this is it. So for years I've been tracking my spending, tracking my debt, and not really knowing what to do with it, how to tackle it. But it was 2020 really when I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tackle this thing. But before I even get into that, I want to talk about my debt prior to budgeting. So forgive me, I got my notes, got my pen, got a checklist. I'm going to go through it. And and let me see. So my debt prior to budgeting consisted of quite a few things. It was a combination of medical debt, credit card debt, other debt, things that were on installment plans. I didn't have appliances or furniture on installment plan, but I did have a phone, and at the time I didn't have home security. But just showing you a few things what can be part of the installment debt. I did have an auto loan. I had 2 401k loans. Let me see. At the time, I think I had a personal loan and then student loans. So that was prior to budgeting. And then when I started to budget, now what I have is I have something on an installment plan. That's my home security, and that's it. And then I have 2 personal loans, and that it is a combination of some of the credit card debt, because a lot of the credit cards that I had were maxed out and they had the highest interest rate. And let me see, I did pay off the 401k loans using the personal loan. And the reason for that is because I was paying about 100% of my income each month just to service that debt. Also included in that, moving expenses from when I moved cross country last minute. I broke a lease like 20 some days before I moved cross country. I had to get movers to do that. It was very expensive. And then I put my stuff in storage for 2 years. So some of that's included in that. And then the biggest part of my debt still is student loans. But that's how my debt looks now, as opposed to what it looked like prior to budgeting. So let's get into when I started to really track my debt. This is a look at my consumer debt from June 2020 to January 2021. So my beginning debt was $115,041.89. That year I was able to pay off in 7 months. I was able to pay off $17,521.32, and my ending balance was $97,520.57. Okay, so what happened that year was I was with my parents. That was the lockdown, so I wasn't driving anywhere, wasn't going into the office. It was basically I was mostly bedridden, really, and I would just get up. I had my office in my bedroom, so I would just have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and thanks to my parents, they would take care of me. And then I just said, okay, I'm just going to throw as much money as I can to this because I'm in this position to be able to do it. So without a plan, I was able to pay off $17,521.32. But you got to understand, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have to pay rent or anything like that. So definitely it was a lot easier to be able to pay that kind of debt off in a short period of time. Okay, so from February 2021 to December 2021, my beginning consumer debt was $97,520.57. I paid off $19,562.05. Ending balance was $77,958.52. So during that year, in May of 2021, I learned how to budget from Brad Long, and that was when I had a full emergency fund. It was $5,000. And then I was just able to accelerate my debt pay down. It probably would have been more if I didn't switch gears and then throw money towards my emergency fund. But I'm glad I did, because emergencies happen. And then I did have an emergency the next year, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But, as you can see, I was making progress. Okay, which takes me to January 2022 to December 2022. Okay, so started off the year $77,958.52, and then paid off $10,480.04, and the balance was $67,478.48. Now, the reason why I only paid off $10,480.04 was because I moved into my first home. Now, you're probably saying, why in the world would I go ahead and buy a home when I'm dealing with this kind of debt, and how did I even do that? Well, it wasn't easy, and I wouldn't advise people on doing it the way I did, but there were a couple of things that factored into the reason I had to move. For one thing, the office that I work at moved to a different location, and I wanted to be closer to work. If I were to be at home and commute to work, it would have been 40 something miles one way, and insane traffic through a major city, and I just couldn't do that. For one thing, I had a pulmonary embolism and deep vein thrombosis, so the chances of that happening again with that type of commuting would be very high. And so I said, okay, I could look at renting close to where I live, but the rents were insane. Even for a studio, it was like $1,400, $1,500. So I said, okay, that's ridiculous. So then I, seriously, that summer, the summer of actually 2021 was when I decided to start looking for homes. And, if you think back then, the interest rates were pretty low, hovering around 3%. And I said, okay, I don't see how I'm going to get this, because I got this crazy consumer debt. My credit was okay. And it started looking better because I was paying off debt like crazy and consolidating debt, as a result of budgeting, really tackling my debt. Anyway, qualified for a loan, was able to find a place in my price range, and here I am. But as a result, I paid off $9,000 less than I did the previous year. And the reasons for that is because I'm still trying to, figure out exactly how much I can live off on. And the other reason was because 2022 was when I got taxed like crazy. So, to buy my home, I had to take a substantial amount out of my 401k. And when you do that, you get taxed like 30% off of that money. And then what happens the next year, which for me, I took out the money at the end of 2021, 2022, was when I got hit by sizable federal and state taxes. The reason for that is because taking out that money put me in another tax bracket. And they were like, well, you didn't pay enough taxes in 2021. You're going to pay those taxes in 2022. And as a result, it completely wiped out my baby emergency fund. And I had to start from scratch. So that's the reason for my slow progress in 2022. And I will talk about 2023 a little bit later because then I'll let you know exactly where I finish off this year. Okay, so let's take a month-to-month look at 2023. Okay, so I began the year off at $67,478.48. In January, paid off $895.83, $839.73 in February, March, $854.91, April, $847.66, May, $855.22, June, $855.64. July, $122.48. That was when I got a home security system and decided to pay it off in installments. August, paid up $916.87. September, $862.95. October, that was a mistake, $1056.58. That's when the student loan payment started again. Mistakenly made 2 student loan payments. And in November, $952.88. And December, $900.57. Okay, so the total that I was able to pay off this year was $99.51.42. So I had forecasted that I would pay off $10,000, which isn't a goal, but it was a forecast based off of how much I was paying off each month. And I fell short of that forecast or projection by $48.58. Now, I could have cheated and said, I'm going to just throw $50 at it and I'm going to hit that goal. But then that wouldn't have been right, because what I'm trying to do is rebuild my baby emergency fund. That's my goal, is to get that 100% funded. And the other thing is, I was short by $6.11 for paying off half of my original $115,041.89 initial consumer debt, where I identified where my debt was as of June 2020. So it's not going to happen this year, but it will happen next year, probably in January. So I'm definitely happy about that and looking forward to my January 2024 update on that. So, all right. Yeah, that being said, how did I do this year? Once again, consumer debt as of June 2020, $115,041.89. Consumer debt as of today, $57,527.06. Paid off $57,514.83, which is approximately 50% of my original debt. Very cool. I am happy about that. Still got a little ways to go, but this is progress I never thought I would have been able to make. And I'm glad I decided to tackle this challenge, and look forward to next year when hopefully I'm under 50,000 of consumer debt. So my baby emergency fund previous month was 66%. This month is 70%, an increase of 4%. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else I needed to talk about? So, my challenge is that 80% of my income is going to fixed expenses. About 30% of that is going to servicing debt. So my goal this year was to fully fund my baby emergency fund. I fell short of that by 30%. But next April, I assume that it's going to be fully funded based on the fact that I'll have a return on my tax refund. I anticipate federal. I'm not sure about state, and then prayerfully I get a bonus for next year. And if that's the case, then I'll be able to fully fund that baby emergency fund, and then I plan on accelerating the debt pay down on my smallest. I plan on paying off my home security system equipment, and as well as make a big dent in my smallest personal loan, which is currently under $5,000. And be starting in 2024 on a good foot, and just excited as to what's to come. So this journey for me is taking a little bit longer, I'm sure because of my health. If I were in better health, I would get a second job. I probably would still be in management for one thing where my pay was higher, and it would be a lot easier to pay this debt down. But that's not the case. I have to prioritize my health, and that's just it. All right. So if you made it this far, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. You'll know when I post my videos. You can find me at youtube.com/@LupusLifestyle. And thank you for watching. You all take care.